A little bit more. Folks, welcome. As I'm trying to adjust the camera. Folks, welcome to Gamers Health. Yes, we are barely a professional podcast. We're not even a professional podcast. Let's
We
be
like to
honest.
think of ourselves that way.
As I
Maybe
said
one day.
before, the Tavern chat, stream, channel, whatever, it's like public access on your cable. We hopefully the content is good, even if the presentation might might suck balls. But in any case, welcome. I'm Rach Tenkar. This is my wife Rachel.
Hello.
So today, I was literally thinking, and it's been on my mind the last couple of days. But this time last year, I was hospitalized with congestive heart failure, and today would have been about, I think, 3 days prior to my major procedure to put the first 3 out of 4 stents into my heart. So if you saw pictures of me from last year at this time or shortly before, I think I look totally different than I looked before the health scare. I think I look uh, thinner, better complexion. Certainly, I don't have the retained water and the scabbed up legs that I had at that time, folks. That shit is what it is. But here's the truth of the matter. Would it have progressed that far if we weren't in the midst of COVID? I mean, COVID has ancillary problems associated with it. And one of them was that folks and people like me were not willing to expose themselves to the violence and seek medical attention for other illnesses or other symptoms they were experiencing, because COVID could have been so much worse.
Yeah, folks were trying to avoid going to healthcare places to avoid the virus. So, people were kind of bargaining with, I feel these symptoms, but when is it time to really go?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's funny, in my case, I was supposed to go to the cardiologist, and actually I felt like shit, and I couldn't even get myself to go to cardiologist. I had my sister reschedule my appointment for, I guess, 2 or 3 days later. And as my surgeon wound up telling me, probably right around this time last year, is that probably the best thing that I could have done was to delay going into the hospital. And he goes, whether you come in a month prior or 2 days prior, he goes, my timing was perfect because I came in just after they opened up a COVID-free wing. Because otherwise, I would have been put in with
a general wing
people
who were sick with the virus,
right,
and people who were not. So
right, so I could have likely
contagion would have been really high.
Right, I would have been probably exposed. I was certainly already at risk. So things happen as they're meant to happen sometimes. Yeah, I'm not going to say that you have to place your life in the control of a higher power. I'm just saying that in my case, the stars aligned to make sure things progressed as they needed to. So that is my little bit of throwing shit out there and being truthful about where I am. Because, to be honest, I am feeling so much better than I did this time last year. But I still have in the back of the head the idea, the knowledge that, this is now something that I have to be cognizant and aware of on a daily basis. Not just maintaining my blood sugar numbers, which I'm doing a decent job of, but also looking for any kind of issues with my heart. Am I suddenly retaining weight? My weight will fluctuate. Honest to God, my weight will go up 2.5 pounds one day and drop 2.5 pounds the next day. And then that's, whether or not you had a big bowel movement or not. But if it goes like that and you retain it and then you retain more, it could be because you're retaining water. And if you're retaining water, it means your heart function is not going great. So I weigh myself on a daily basis. That's one of the measures that I have been doing now for a year, really. So I'm going to do my usual knock on wood a little bit early. Knock on wood. I am feeling a lot better than I was at this time last year. And again, I had one hell of a year in 2020, 3 hospitalizations, and not one of them was for COVID. And not what. So, and I never came down with COVID. I never tested positive for COVID. So, God willing, we're out of those woods. Now, I believe in New York State, our positivity was somewhere just over 1% for like Friday. And I think the week is like probably 7 days rolling is like 1.5%.
Wow.
So it's coming from the state that was like the COVID capital of the world at one point.
But we do have an awesome public health system.
Right. Here. We have a shitty governor and just a shitty mayor.
And a shitty mayor, but
yeah.
And the public health supports have been created long before.
Right.
And they will continue through.
So just remember, a lot of times we talk about things like, oh my God, the bureaucracy. Well, you know what? Thank God the bureaucracy outlasts the politics. Okay, because the bureaucracy is what allows things generally to continue moving and keep working. And I think that we're hitting that stride. Now, again, COVID-wise, the CDC has changed their mask recommendations. Their mask recommendations are that if you are fully vaccinated, which means 2 weeks after your last COVID shot, whether it's the one shot, Johnson & Johnson, or one of the 2-shot deals, 2 weeks after your final shot, which could be your first shot in the J&J, you can now go inside and not wear a mask, right? You can be in pretty much any situation except for public transit and not be masked, unless, of course, you're in certain states. Apparently, New Jersey has decided they are now at this point going to change their mask regulations. Connecticut said they are going to follow the CDC recommendations, and New York State doesn't know what they're going to do.
Does that still mean if you're on Metro North and they cross that border into Connecticut, you could take the mask off?
Not on Metro
Not
North.
on public transport.
Not on public transport. Now, the reason why with public transport, too, is that all public transport gets federal subsidies. So that's how the federal government, which doesn't have the ability to make a mask mandate in the states, can mandate it on mass transit, because mass transit takes federal subsidies. And unless your federal subsidies aren't needed, which everybody needs it, you will follow the recommendations of the federal government, and therefore the mask mandate. That's how that wonderful shite works when it comes to the federal government. People go, whoa, the voting age, not the voting age, but they raised the drinking age, right? It used to be 18, then it was 19, then it was 21. That was all tied to federal subsidies. I believe that was highway dollars. So if you didn't need the highway dollars, like some states out in the Midwest didn't, you could say, fuck it. You could drag your feet on changing it, your time. Same thing with the speed limit. When it was 55 everywhere, I think something like Arizona had like 70 because they didn't need the federal highway dollars. So that's the interesting aspect of how the federal stuff works. Brian McIntosh, interesting. In Texas, it's basically businesses that are enforcing a mask mandate inside their property. Yeah, and that is certainly a way it's going to happen in a lot of these locations. Now, we're going to be going to North Texas in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's exciting to see how it's going to be different.
And already, well, what we understand from the convention is that the hotel where we're going to be at has a mask policy. And the hotel has already stated that they cannot enforce and have no intention of enforcing their mask policy, which means, really, realistically, if you don't wear a mask, you're going to be looked at as a bad boy. But there's nothing they're going to do about it. And the con is not going to get involved in it because it's Texas. It's a policy of the establishment, and the establishment's not going to enforce it. I don't believe the convention's going to enforce it.
No, for here in New York,
yes.
Like when we were out before in the pub, I was still doing business as usual.
Yes,
you walk in, you have to mask up. That's still the same.
Yes, and when you're walking out, you're supposed to mask up. And
yes, I did the same thing. Or go to the bathroom or whenever you're standing.
Yeah, I didn't. Okay, it takes me 5 seconds to walk out from my seat at the paying the tab.
Yeah.
Fuck it. All right, because literally it's gonna have no effect. I'm immunized. All right, so as is Rach, we're fully immunized, so
Yeah.
we don't shed the virus. So us wearing a mask is literally just signaling that we're hip and we understand, but it's not doing it. We're not preventing anybody else from catching a virus. We don't shed the virus. Even God forbid we'd get infected. So, and that's science, all right. And that's already been stated by the CDC.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying anything that isn't already well known. Now, yes, I understand that Target has already stated that despite the new federal mask guidelines, Target's already stated that no matter what state you're in, they are going to still require a mask. And that is fine and dandy. And I'm not saying, well, if they require a mask and you're in a state that doesn't need a mask, you shouldn't give them your money. Come on. We're all
We got to keep stuff going. And
right.
If Target has what you need, rock on, bear the mask, and
right,
get your stuff and get out.
Bear the mask and spoil the child. Is that how it goes? Oh,
I don't know about that one.
Spare
the rod, spoil the child.
Yeah. All right. So again,
I should have said don the mask.
Don the mask and spoil the
right,
child.
you don your PPE.
Yes. I'm down with PPE.
Yeah, you know me.
Yeah. Yeah, yo.
Oh yeah.
But it's just a weird situation where, and again, I understand it too. I'm on the street. I don't need to wear a mask. Haven't had to because the CDC recommendation said, well, if you're outdoors and you're exercising, and if you're walking, you're exercising. If I'm walking a dog, I'm exercising. I don't need to wear a mask. That was before they made this new announcement.
Mm-hmm.
So even New York State said, okay, you don't need to wear a mask. Well, here's the thing. 90% of my neighborhood is still wearing a mask. And when they see me coming down the street without a mask, I generally get a wide berth. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, it's like,
well, there was so much fear created.
Yes.
And it's going to take people a long time to sort of deal with that, or like fully understand that, I don't have to wear a mask. The mask is not going to help me or anybody else right now in this particular situation. That's why you still have people saying, well, I want to protect my community and I'll wear the mask, for a long time, so
right.
Yeah.
And that's just
it's them meaning well and wanting to, support their community and do the right thing.
Right. But
it restricts you in certain ways.
But not only does it restrict you in certain ways, if you are immunized, right, you're not shedding the virus. So you wearing a mask has no effect. Because remember, wearing a mask does not protect you. It protects others from your infection if you are infected. But if you can't shed the virus, even if you are infected, if you don't shed enough of the virus to actually infect somebody else, the point to you wearing a mask is nil. The issue comes is, how do you show that the person walking down the street who is fully immunized and can't shed the virus is fully immunized and can't shed the virus, right? We don't have little COVID, and don't take this the wrong way, a COVID badge, right? And it's like, hey, this is my badge. It says I'm hip.
I can take out my little, I could peel my, I was vaccinated today off the fridge and stick it on my chest, but
right. So I mean, when you think about it,
I hope you all got stickers when you got vaccinated too.
Right. So
it made my day.
Again, I understand why certain states. I understand why, like New Jersey and New York, are dragging their feet on saying yes, the vaccinated can go maskless, because what does that mean? It means that some unvaccinated will now go maskless. Well, guess what? If the unvaccinated go maskless, who are they putting at risk for a real COVID infection? Not the immunized. Other people that are
not immunized people.
Right. Other people that are at risk.
So, or like, I guess maybe the people who are immunocompromised.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that couldn't get the injection because of whatever their
Right.
immunocompromise was. And
so I mean,
Yeah.
therein lies the issue. And again, what else are they saying? They're saying that I think it's 1 in 1,000 infections are traced back to outdoors. That pretty much every
indoors.
well, 1 in 1,000 is outdoors, which means 999 in 1,000 are from indoor interactions.
Okay.
So now, in a way, that makes sense because remember when we had all these mass protests last year, they weren't tracing many back to these mass protests. Now, you would think if you could transmit it outdoors, that these mass protests,
folks would have come down with it.
Right, these would have been some incidents that would have been, oh my God, we can trace back this mass infection to Portland, New York City, when they had whatever protests, and they're not being traced back to that.
No.
So real life data proves. I mean, data you can just look back and look at and say, so what was the problem then? The problem was you were keeping people inside, so people that maybe had to go to work might have been exposed to it, and now you're keeping them in their home, exposing other people to that infection. But they weren't catching it outdoors, but they might have been catching it indoors at their place of employment. So that is the COVID deal. And again, in my case, a year after me looking, but not just like Grizzly Adams, but but
the pictures.
Yeah, oh my God, looking like shit. I really should have put them up in my on my secondary screen. I could have screen shared them and scared people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, look who's coming to dinner. Oh my God, who invited Bad Santa? So, I had that complexion too. What can I tell you? So now, Rach, you are almost completed with your. Is it 500 or 300 hours? I mean, I know together it's 500, but I just said 300.
Exactly, it's 300 hours. They separate it 200, 300, but at the end of the day, you would be RTE 500.
Then that stands for.
Sorry, RT 300.
Which stands for
registered yoga teacher.
Oh, okay.
And then it says your distinction of what education or training that you have.
And if you get other trainings or certificates that come under it?
Like some of them, there's one training on inclusivity and stuff like that it's like it's a lot of hours, probably at least 100 hours of itself. And like they have this little thing that like a symbol for the fact that you took this training and that you are, an inclusive, accessible like yoga teacher. So there's different specializations that you can have. One of the things that I'm thinking of doing is for yoga therapist, which is a different training, and I guess you could say credential. There's like a national organization that certifies people. It's weird to me because they're not state licensures, which is something that I'm used to with, mental health and substance abuse counseling, social work license, and things like that. But I guess the situation around like liability and stuff like that, you still have to like keep your liability insurance active and different stuff like that, or have specialized liability insurance for it. But yeah, it's kind of a newer field, so I'm still kind of getting used to what that means. And we have 2 programs in our city that you can get it from that are accredited with this.
It's a private organization that does the accrediting, right?
Right. It's not state bodies or things like that. That's a whole weird thing about anything yoga.
Right. Yeah. Because, and the reason why this is coming up, because Rach, as her primary profession, is a social worker. And she is licensed by the state of New York. And if she wanted to practice our occupation in another state,
I would have to look at the
reciprocity
rules and
or
what you have
have
to do to make sure that you
Yeah.
can hold your licensure and, you know, be approved for licensure there. Like with my CASEC, that's usually transmittable because there's an international organization that accredits like a lot of states, and so
Okay.
you know, New York meets that, where a lot of other states might not. But then social work is always a bitch. Like places like California have different experience guidelines or different education guidelines, or like they don't tend to have reciprocity with anybody. That tends to be a big pain in the ass. I've heard Jersey is annoying, but you know, I think a lot of things in New Jersey are really annoying.
New Jersey,
yeah.
New Jersey is the only state I know of that it's free to cross all the bridges and tunnels to get into it. You can get into New Jersey for free, but whether you're trying to leave to New York State or Pennsylvania, and I don't know about down south, I'd have to check. But if you're trying to leave into New York State or PA,
you gotta pay to get out.
You gotta pay to get out. They want like you want to leave this state? Gonna cost
gimme.
We'll break your legs. You know,
gimme.
Somebody with a bent nose is gonna come along and tell you something. Yeah, I know. Scary, ain't it?
Yeah.
So,
but you know, the nice thing about these organizations is that they tend to be worldwide.
Oh, that works.
You know, that it's kind of international. So that's kind of cool. Like, especially I think the Yoga Alliance is worldwide.
So, just so you all know, once Rach gets her certification, the idea is we're going to figure out a way to have Rach offer probably maybe once a month a free yoga class to the gaming community. It'll probably be part of our Gamers Health.
Yeah.
And it'll be up there for the gamers to use. I mean, I'd be more interested in yoga from the mental and spiritual perspective to get myself that peace of mind going. But I know gamers, Joe the lawyer, Laramie from our Discord server, who are practitioners or have been practitioners of yoga. And they've enjoyed it, not just for the mind space, but for the physical activity. I'm like, I'm not gonna say, I don't want to say half a cripple, but I am literally disabled between my shoulder and my lower back.
But there's always like an accommodation that you can make, or some kind of prop that you can use, or some adaptation that we can do to have you get the same benefit from a certain pose.
As long as you don't have to lay on the floor, because you've seen how hilariously funny it is to watch me get up from the floor. Okay, it's like watching a fish flap. Because it is.
You know what's fun though? Like you can use the blocks to maneuver around the floor.
She's already trying to figure out how to amuse herself by watching me get off the floor. This is why the marriage works, folks. Okay, I'm telling you right now. This is why the marriage works. So, listen, what can you take from this? Mind space is very important. Okay, you got to we are out of the winter doldrums. Okay, we're getting sunlight into our lives. Now is the time, especially with being told that COVID is allowing us to go out and enjoy life. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't go out. It means you should go out. Vitamin D is apparently very good to maintain your health during this time in COVID. And we're not getting enough vitamin D if we're staying in the house. So find your green space. Find a place. You know, we're blessed we have a backyard.
Yes.
So even at the worst of COVID, we always had the backyard
our hands into
to escape to. But
gardening.
If you're living in an apartment, you should have a park nearby. Find your space.
Parks, even bringing plants into your house. We brought some plants into this room.
Next people will show me. You can see one right above my head.
See.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see them both.
And the one.
The one's kind of behind that chair,
yeah.
but the blue one you can see.
Yeah, well, the one behind my head you can definitely see.
Oh gosh, yeah, you can see the peace lily up there.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
So, I mean, these
And they're real.
little things help your mental state. Okay. And that being said, little things can also set off your mental state, as I learned earlier today. And not all slights are what they appear to be at the moment. So it's best to work through them and get past that, because otherwise it will fester. And you're talking to somebody who spent 20 years as a cop, bottling up most of my what I consider to be non-productive, non-useful emotions, which were usually anger and sadness and anything that was negative. I bottled up, and over the last 5 years of retirement, they've slowly been coming out. Usually when I don't want them to, or well, I'm watching a commercial on TV. All of a sudden, it dings something, and Rachel's like, "Are you getting?
You okay?
Yeah, no, I'm fine. But look at the puppy. I mean, it's just weird stuff
Yeah.
will set you off, and that's actually natural for that state. So it's good that I'm now processing stuff that I've bottled up since like probably the late 90s in some cases. So your mind doesn't forget. You think it does. It doesn't. So if you can deal with it at the time, it's probably the best, because otherwise it can. Your
mind and your body keep the score.
Yes,
so.
And it can metastasize like a cancer.
And
as a cancer survivor, trust me, you don't need that. So best to deal with that stuff as it comes up whenever possible. Anything else we got? What do you think?
I think that's everything.
Well, listen, I'd like to thank Brian for commenting. I'd like to thank all our live listeners and our listeners who watch later on. Folks, listen, you're subscribing to this channel for Gamers Health, Talking Crit with me and Bad Mike, Iron Rations with myself and Joe the Lawyer, Dungeons, Dragons, and Discourse with Glenn Halstrom and myself.
All the good stuff.
All the good stuff. We do 3 live streams a week. I also do at least 4 other uploads. So every day has something. It's all gaming related. Gamers Health is a bit less gaming related per se, necessarily because we're talking to gamers about their health. We're not necessarily talking about how you can use this in your game, although I'm sure there are aspects that you can. I'd like to see a yoga instructor class for an OSR game, but maybe we'll get into that at some other point. Kind of like a monk variant. Martial artist? No. Maybe not.
Hey.
Yeah, Rachel's saying
we'll have to see.
Yeah. But again, you're subscribing to this channel means an awful lot. Your comments mean an awful lot to help the
Your
algorithm.
interaction really, really helpful.
Really.
And we always read everything, listen to everything. And thank you for being a part of it.
I got a little bit of my dinner, like my salad's like coming up. I'm like, I can feel that salad moving. Folks, if you'd like to leave us a voicemail, it's 347-509-5168. Or if you're listening on the Anchor app, obviously you can use the Anchor app to leave a voicemail. Like I said, we listen to it all. You can email tenkarstavern@gmail.com. We read it all. And if you have suggestions for one of our episodes, if you'd like us to cover a topic, please drop us a line. We're more than happy to if we can. All right? This is your show. This is why we do it.
It's for you.
Yeah, I mean, literally, when I did my 20 years as a cop, I went into the job saying if I change one life for the better over 20 years, I'm a success. The pension's great and all that stuff, but what changed one life in 20 years, and you did what was asked of you by a higher power.
Mm-hmm.
If I change, with Rachel's help, one life doing this weekly cast, we've done what we're meant to do. And if I can change more than one life, great. And whether that's physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, helping you ground yourself and improve your well-being is really our goal. So again, thank you. And on that note, we've already addressed the COVID stuff. So literally, use your common sense. Okay. We can't live your life. We don't know what your risk factors are. or the risk factors of those around you. So use your common sense. Be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice. And I'll be back again tomorrow with some gaming stuff, shite. I guess. Yeah, tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll probably do it. Probably after doing my first full session of Demio on the Oculus 2 headset with Zach Laser and a few others. This is the 3D VR dungeon with dice.
That's what it's called, Demio?
Demio, yes. It is. I tried the demo, and the demo could have been more impressive, but I think it's going to excel with multiple players. And if they allow you to modify the dungeons, I think it's going to be awesome. But we shall see. All right, folks. Again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you so much for subscribing. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, if you can hear the singing in the background.
Yeah, we got to go. Karaoke's getting started.
Yeah,
not with us, but
we
just thought it might be disruptive for you guys.
Yeah, so, but maybe we'll do a late night, karaoke sit-in one time, and you can hear my neighbors karaoke on a weekend. Jesus. All right. Laters.